tutorial on Apache Superset. We use an open source data visualization and exploration tool. So I just want to show you how to set up the whole thing. And it's unfortunate that I will be working today on Windows. If you want me to do a Linux tutorial or a Mac tutorial, just as we're doing this process on Windows, I would advise you to use Commander. Simply go on to open your browser and then type Commander CMDER. So you can just go straight on Google, and then type CMDER. It's Commander. This is a terminal that makes it. It's an emulator. It emulates the Unix environment. So click that and then download it. Place it onto a path that you will remember. It's got colorful representations of path directories and files. It's something that I really like, and it makes it possible also for you to run Linux commands, certain Linux commands. Let's open. You simply go on to Google. Go on Google and browse Apache Superset. Click on the first link that comes up, probably. And then Apache Superset simply is a data visualization and exploration tool that you can use. So without wasting much of your time, you can read through the documentation. I'm not going to do it right here. It supports a number of databases. And for this tutorial, we are going to be using MySQL database. So below, these are some of the screenshots, the dashboards that it comes with. It has a lot of charts, previously known as slices, but now they're calling them charts. Good ones. You can do a lot of things with it. I will show you as the tutorial goes. So simply go into installation and configuration. So one thing that you really need to know is that Apache Superset works with Python, and they have stopped support for Python version 2 point something. So I will expect you to have at least Python 3.6 and above. So all you need to do, I'm just going to assume that you have Python installed. Just Google Python and then open the python.org website. Go to the downloads. Select the Python version that you prefer. I prefer using Python 3.75. Then simply go into download. After going to download, choose your platform installer. If you're on Mac, look at your Python executable download that you've just made. Double click on it and do a proper installation of a software, just like you would every time. So there are a few things that I want you to follow, especially if you're a Windows user. I know if you're a Linux or Unix user, you already have Python by now. All I need you to do is upgrade that Python, make sure it's 3.6 and above. Upgrade it to something probably 3.7, 3.6. So once you've upgraded to 3.6, 3.7, probably you're gonna end up having two versions of Python installed on your machine. You simply have to set the default one to Python 3. That is, if you're on Unix. If you're on Windows, you can follow through the steps that I'm going to show you. So I need you to tick on add Python 3.7 to path. This simply is going to add it to the environment variable, so that every time you're going to probably enter a command, let me just show you. Probably every time you're going to enter a command, like we just want to check the Python version. If we do this, it will not give us problems like this is not an internal or external command. Excuse me. This is a common Windows problem or issue, not a problem. It's experienced a lot because usually most of the people, they forget to add their Python script to the environment variables. So if you tick this one and then click on install now, click yes. After a successful installation of Python, I need you to take note of this section in red which says disable path limit. You're supposed to click on it so that you disable the path limit. Make sure you disable it so that you disable the maximum path limit. This will make it make it possible for you to install Apache Superset in the future without any errors. So make sure you click on it. But if you don't get this option, then probably your machine and everything is well set up. You don't have to worry about it. This is on Windows. This is for Windows users, all right? So now, after clicking on it, this is what you get. Then simply close. To verify that we've really successfully installed Python in the as part of the environment variables, you check its version. We have to open the terminal again and then check its version. So this is going to be Python hyphen couple of v. Then this is the version, or simply still gives us the same thing. So we also noticed that we installed this Python version. It came along with pip as well as the idle and the documentation. So if you type pip list, you're going to see a couple of libraries that have already been installed using pip, and as well as seeing other packages that are going to be used. You can also check the pip version. We're doing exactly the same thing as you did for Python, and we are sitting on pip version 19.3.1, which is the most recent version. Okay, so another thing, an advantage of using Commander here, you can see that I can run commands like clear here on Windows, which is not so common on Windows Terminal. On Windows CMD, usually you run CLS, right? So don't get confused. If you're getting errors, just try to install Commander, all right? And if you're on Linux, um, I'm assuming that you have already upgraded to Python 3 point something, 3.6 at least. And so far we are on the right track, right? After we have done that, now go to the Apache Superset website, the one that we Googled earlier, and then from there, click on installation and configuration. They're going to give you a couple of documentation. You can go through them on your own. Where we want to go right now is on installing the operating system dependencies. So Superset stores database passwords, so it needs this cryptography module or library. It's a Python library to encrypt the credentials for your database connections. So you're going to have to install it. If you're on Debian or Ubuntu based distros, these are some of the commands that they've given you for you to run. You can install them. Just go through the documentation. And if you're on Windows, that's what you have to do before Windows, sorry. That's what you have to do before installing cryptography library. The same goes for Mac, and the same goes also for Fedora, right? So now, since we are on Windows, we're going to dive straight to this command where we're going to say pip install cryptography. I'm going to redo this whole process, but as you can see, I already, if I say pip list, I already have cryptography installed. We can also use pip freeze to list all the libraries that are currently installed. Those commands, they both give us the same result. So if I try to reinstall, it's just going to tell me that the requirement is already satisfied. You can install, and I'm going to assume that you're not going to face any problems. If you face any problems, just leave the comment below the video and I will help you out. The next thing that you're going to do to realize is that Python version 3.6 and above, they all bring shipping virtual environments, and they have been renamed to VNV instead of virtual env, right? So previously in Python 2.7, virtual environments were named as virtual env. Now they're being referred to as VNV in Python 3 versions 3, right? So we're going to need to install virtual environments. Virtual environments is just a Python way of trying to limit or mitigate the possibility of module clashing. Now that we have installed the cryptography module, I've created a separate folder for me just to do my superset experiment. So I'm quickly going to navigate into that. If we want to install, if we want to do virtual environment creation, you're going to not realize that on Apache Superset website, you're going to realize that on your Apache Superset website, they have this command python 3-am vnv. We can just copy it. Let me just copy it and paste it. Okay, python 3-am vnv. So if we press enter, we are going to have this error. Why? Because Python 3 here, they're specifying Python version, assuming that a person is working on an environment that has two versions of Python. But here I only have one version of Python, which is Python 3.7.5. This is a Windows installation, but if you're on Unix, probably you're gonna have two versions of Python. So you're gonna have to follow exactly what they're saying. If you have followed my steps from the beginning of this video, then probably I want you to do this. You're gonna have to remove the 3 part of it, leave this one, and then you're gonna notice that this first VENV, it simply is the new naming for virtual env, right? Leave it like that. The next one is then the name of the virtual environment, that custom name that we can give any name that we want. So you can now, this pretty much is sort of like a separate folder that gets created on our laptop, on our development machines or everything. So you can name whatever name you want. I'm going to call it dev zone, right? Then press enter, then wait for it to finish installing. After successfully creating our virtual environment, we can do a list. You're going to see that we now have blue. That's why I like Commander, because it's more like Linux. On Linux terminals, where you get to say, if you see this is a blue color, it pretty much means this is a directory. If it's white, then it's a file, etc, etc, like that. So we now have this one. So if we are to just quickly get into this directory, we're gonna have about 4 files in there, 3 of them being directories and just 1 config file. So in our virtual environment, most of the scripts that we're going to be executing, they are within the script folder. So if we are to cd into script and then list, you're going to see we have these files. So if you're working on a Unix machine, you're going to notice that this one is a bash file .sh, bash file, right? Shell file, some may call it. And then .bat file is a batch file. This is for Windows. Deactivated at the same time. This is a batch file. This is for Windows, and all the other executables that are there, this is for Windows. So probably on Linux, you don't have to worry about it. So let me quickly do this. So if you go into Superset, you're going to notice that for you to launch or to activate, rather, for you to activate a virtual environment, you're gonna have to do different, you're gonna have to pass different commands from the Unix and compared to those of the Windows platform. So I've installed the git bash just to show you quickly how it might be looking like on a Unix machine. So I'm just going to quickly launch it, and then my git bash, I can, with git bash I can run like it emulates a lot better the Linux commands. But I just don't prefer it over Commander. I love Commander. So if you're on Linux, you're gonna have to do something like source for you to activate your virtual environment. You're gonna have to type source SOR, then okay. And I need you to work with your tab button a lot. So SOR, then press tab. It's going to finish up the sentence. I'm assuming that you're on Unix machine source, and then if you tab again, it's going to give you dev zone because this is the only virtual environment that we have currently, right? And then script, and then activate. You're going to see activate. Sorry about that. You're going to see that activate. It doesn't end with the .bat because this one is a shell file. So simply press that, and if you press enter, you're going to see that every time, if we were to clear, every time you press enter, you're going to notice that you are now working in a live virtual environment because we have the dev zone name of our virtual environment within parentheses. This is pretty much similar on a Linux terminal or Unix terminal, maybe on Mac or Linux, right? I'm going to close this and carry on with the Windows terminal. So if you're on Windows, you do not need to type source etc. You simply have to specify the folder dev zone script and then activate. You're going to see that AC, the minute you type AC, then press tab, is going to autocomplete with a .bat, showing that this is a batch file, and then press enter. When you press enter, you again going to see a similar result from what we just saw from our git bash. We have the name of our virtual environment within the parentheses. So now we have activated our virtual environment. This is where we can do all the experiments like requested on the Apache Superset website. Again, if you're on Windows, I'm using Commander. This console, you can just download it and do certain experiments on it. It's a good emulator. So now from there, you can either upgrade your pip, but we already have the latest. So we're going to skip that step straight into the installation of Superset. So now we copy this command, we go straight, and then pressed, and then we wait for Superset to install, and then yep, it's now installing. So this is what we're going to see after a successful installation of Superset, just like what they have told us. Oh, I've forgotten that I upgraded the pip version of the global one, not within this virtual environment. So I'm simply just going to copy and install it. It doesn't take long. Yeah. So now, after installing all that, you can say clear now. We move on to the next. So this is where I want you also, as a Windows user, I want you to pay particular attention. It's easier when you're on Unix to just say copy that command and paste it. So if we paste, if we're on Windows, you're going to face problems, challenges. Press enter. You're going to see that Superset is not recognized as an internal or external command, etc. Blah blah blah. This simply means that Superset, the command that you have launched, the command that you have passed, is not part of the environment variables. It's not found within the path, right? So you cannot use it as a command on the terminal. So on Unix, you can proceed with this one. If you're on Windows, then I'm gonna need you to do the following. You type Python, right? And then you specify the actual directory, dev zone, Okay, I want to show you something that after the successful installation of Superset, if we say pip list and press enter, you're going to see that there are a lot of new libraries that have been installed, including Superset itself, including the notorious SQL Alchemy and the notorious Pandas. I'm going to show you why these two are so notorious in the next steps. And also, if we say the cd into dev zone and then script list, you're going to see that we now have more scripts that have been added, including this superset. This is the superset script that we want to use to execute the command of upgrading the database, right? But then the problem is, if you're on Windows, it's not that easy because Windows has a way of not putting virtual environments in as environment variables, right? You cannot read them to, most of the time it doesn't read them to be or consider them to be part of the operating system path. So what you're going to do, this is a command. If you're on Linux, Unix, you can just go ahead and type superset db upgrade, right? But if you're on Windows, I need you to do this. Put Python first, Python, and then dev zone, the name of our virtual environment, then the script location, script, and then if you say soup and then press tab, it's going to complete, and then autocomplete, and then db upgrade. This is how you do it on Windows, and press enter. Otherwise, you're going to experience problems and you will not be successful. After this, we have successfully executed that command. We move on to the next. Again, I need you to pay attention here. If you're on Windows, I need you to pay attention. If you just copy and paste that command, export flask app underscore app equal to superset. If you press that, again, you're going to notice that export is not recognized as an internal or external command. Again, it's the same story that we talked about. So if you're on Linux or Unix, it's okay. You can copy that and paste this direct. Okay, just use export as it is. But if you're on Windows, I'm gonna need you to use set instead of export. I need you to use set. So right now we're just defining a constant, giving it a value of superset. Our constant name is flashcap. Then press enter. Successfully. Beautiful. Now we move on to the next, where we're going to create the admin account, right? Using fab, paste, and then we wait. It's going to ask me for the admin username, the username, first name, surname, say email. I'm just gonna put a dummy email. It's not as if it's going to work though. And email.com. But if you're using it like production wise, then yeah, you can try it. And then it's gonna ask for a password, admin, admin. And then it's going to say a couple of things like that. Now we get that error. Okay, let me cross check why we got that error. So well, apparently it's simply it's an error that's been brought up by Superset while trying to create a user. Why? Because um, there already exists a similar user, similar email, supposed to be unique, and now I'm a bit puzzled because I thought I had deleted everything and all that. I'm still to look for a database, for the database, and maybe clean it up a bit. But then the problem was just simply because there was a user who already has Matarusa at email.com. So what you have to do is just create a unique username and email, but the email is the most culprit here. So create a unique email, something that you know hasn't been in the database before, right? Now we'll move on to the next, where we get to load the examples to play with. Again, you're going to realize that Superset is not example what. If you're on Windows, you're gonna have to do the same process again. Then press enter. I don't intend to make this tutorial uh, long, so I just hope I'll be able to finish it in time. So we have successfully loaded examples that we can use to display and show some of the slices, that the beautiful slices that Superset has for us. So the next thing we're gonna have to do is to initialize it. And again, if you're on Linux, it's okay to just copy and paste that. But if you're on Windows, then you're gonna have to do pretty much the same. That Superset init, then press enter. Then after successfully initializing it, we then go to Superset Run that and all those flags. I hope that there is a tendency that most people have when you're working on a Unix platform, where you get to say sudo when you try to install a new package. And please do not, by any means, I wish I had told you earlier, do not say sudo pip install Superset. Never install Superset with root privileges, because you're gonna have or experience problems, especially when it comes to uploading CSVs, where you say you need to work on CSV data that you need to visualize. You will not be able, because you will always have you will always be barred from using such privileges. So do not install Superset with root what, with root privileges. So now we can see that it is successfully running on the localhost port 8080. Now all that we can do is visit the URL 127.java and then port 8080, then press enter. You're gonna see the beautiful, lovely Superset. Um, you simply gonna have to use the username and password that we used when we created the user, then log in. This is what Apache looks like. Apache Superset looks like. It's one of it's just so beautiful. There is a lot that you can do with it. There are charts, sometimes codes. They used to be called slices. They're now called charts. So I'm just going to show you a simple dashboard with a tree map like that. Beautiful, right? This is our dashboard where, yeah, the World Bank has got beautiful charts that you can check out. The World Bank, yeah. So just imagine visualizing data for your bosses like this, and it's web-based, it's open source, it's free. All you need is just Python and a powerful server. Remember, I'm going to show you other ways of coming up with data. You can write your own queries, by the way. You can write your own queries in the SQL Lab query editor, and then after writing your own queries, you can then visualize the query results output, and then create a dashboard from there, and then save that dashboard to specific people with specific roles, gamma roles, alpha roles. You can do all that, and it's just good. The good thing about it is it refreshes each and every chart slice that you see. I'm still calling them slices because they used to be called a slice. So this little tiny box that you see here, or this little map that you're gonna see here, it used to be called a slice. And then this donut chart is a slice as well. This is a slice as well. So each and every slice can be defined individually, and it can reload individually depending on the data. You can tell it to refresh automatically or manually. So just imagine how much you can do with all this. It's just visualization, I know, and exploration, but still, it's perfect. You can replace some of the data visualization tools that are out there that require money for them, licenses for them to be, um, for you to distribute your dashboards that you'll have created. For example, you've created a weekly dashboard. You then now need to show management. You cannot keep doing the traditional way of exporting the Tableau files and then sending them over to your management via email. You can do Superset. We can, in the next tutorials, we're gonna do things like changing the logos. We're gonna do things like creating custom SQL queries and then charts, and then trying to come up with imports, trying to come up with uploading CSVs, um, and a whole lot of other things. I'm really sorry it had to take this long, but I hope it helps someone one day. And thank you. I look forward to your comments. Say a lot, anything, anything that you feel like saying right now, you can say it, and I will take it. Thank you.